Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it.
Yo, hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today from a pretty big break. I've been in Europe and traveling and life, but thankfully this part of the year is looking pretty strong, so I'll be able to finish it hopefully with some consistency when it comes to streaming. In front of us we have Green-White Depths, a deck that I wanted to come back to as kind of the refresher. I haven't played too much since the banning of Grief, the rise of Psychic Frog, so I'm pretty keen to see how the basics of Green-White goes. And I think that playing Depths over Maverick right now is just a little bit better from a competitive standpoint with the free wins you can still get from things like Thespian Stage and Dark Depths. And yeah, I think just overall power level of Depths right now is just a little bit more favored than what we have in Maverick. But the sideboard is looking pretty stock. The only thing that I've done differently is change up the graveyard hate a little bit with the Endurance, Fairy Macabre, and Surgical, alongside Crop Rotation for Bojuka Bog and Endurance in the main board. So pretty keen to see if we find a true winner out of those three, but obviously it'll take some amount of leagues to get that data. I'm also running the one Loam, one Library. Still not sure if I'd want to go two of either. I also really like Ramunap number 1 over Loam number 2, as you can find it with Green Sun Zenith, which is really nice. But otherwise, yeah, I've been really enjoying the deck. I have gone down on one Saga, just because we do have Loam and Ramunap to get it back. And I don't want to get too caught up. Hey Expo. Dampening Sphere is actually a card that I did want to really test out, so I think I actually will make that change. So thank you for reminding me. This is a card that I've seen a fair sort of tick up on, which is kind of nice. I think I will just drop a Silence for it. It is tough though. Obviously Deafening Silence being a turn 1 play is pretty crucial against the fast combo decks, but having some flexibility does come at a cost. And I think at 2 mana of any color is still okay. And it is something we can turn 1 with Mox Diamond if that is available, so I don't mind seeing how that plays out. Nice. All right, let's play a Legacy League. Depths with play points. Gameplay. Nice. Apologies, I was in the wrong window for the deck tech, but yeah, as you will see here, nothing too out of the ordinary. All right. Gameplay, this can go to the side. And here we go. It is nice to be back playing Legacy. I didn't take any cards to Europe, but a big shout out to Pete from the In Response Legacy podcast who took me to a football match in Austria, which is pretty crazy experience. They take their footy pretty seriously, and yeah, the crowd was pretty immense. Not too sure what Hooches usually plays. In Legacy, a lot of mono white. But I haven't seen too much initiative recently, so we'll see how that checks out. But yeah, I think this league I would love to just, obviously as kind of a return league, just make sure I'm not making any crucial issues. Sequencing is a big thing that I want to get right, especially after a bit of a break, so we'll see how that goes. Hey Harry, huge thank you for the sub. 21 months is very cool, and I can't wait to have you on for the co-stream in a few weeks. That'd be awesome. I see that you've been playing some, I think, Bant Maverick. I saw you playing around with Nadu first, and then I think you had a version recently which had a... let me have a think. Cyborg Leovold for sure. I wasn't too sure if we had any other blue cards in the main deck. Pretty nice keep here. We have 2 ways to get to a turn 2 knight as a 4/4 or even a 5/5, which is pretty cool. Okay. Ancient Tomb doesn't give away too much, but I do like the thought here. If they're a Blood Moon deck, obviously the Saga's a little bit rough, but if they're an Eldrazi deck, being able to get down something like... Opponent saying glad you're alive, which is very nice. I very much appreciate those sort of messages. But yeah, this is like a huge turn already, because if they do have a Blood Moon, I kind of want to pitch the Saga to the Mox Diamond, but if they're not a Blood Moon deck, then it's a whole different ball game. But we do know them kind of as a white initiative deck, so I wouldn't mind just playing out of what is the best thing to do, and it's probably to try to get this Saga online as early as possible. Let's go Saga. I don't really want to pitch the Forest to the Mox, but I think I'm happy just to pitch a Windswept Heath and then go from here. And at least if they don't play a Moon this turn, but then down the line do, we have Reclaimer to get rid of the Saga in response to get some value out of it. Also, if they play something like a turn 2 Archon, we have the Forest come into play to kind of allow us to make the token as well, which is nice. Okay. I don't care about this too much because they didn't have a turn 1 play, so I'm pretty happy, honestly, just to Wasteland back here on the Soul Land and then attack for 3. We already have 3 lands in hand, which is great. So we have 1 next turn for Reclaimer, and then we can just play a Knight the following turn. But being able to take out a Soul Land against a deck that plays Soul Lands before they actually get any sort of value from it is pretty sweet. Now we can kind of adjust and use this fetch land to get a Lush Portico if we don't draw into a sort of a play next turn, and then go from there, which is quite nice. Okay. I wonder what sort of targets they run. If they run like a Soul Guide Lantern, maybe a Pithing Needle, Shadow Spear. Hey Past, thank you very much. Hope you're doing well. Okay. I think a removal spell I'd love to see off the top, or a crop rotation effect. A Green Suns isn't the worst. It gives me access to Ramunap down the line. It gives me access to Outland Liberator. I think I'm pretty happy to find a Green Suns, but let's just have a quick thing. So untap, draw the Green Suns, play a land, most likely then just play the Knight and pass. If the Knight hits the table, I would assume they might move towards Graveyard Hate with the Saga, which does make the Green Suns a little bit worse if we did want to think about a Ramunap. But I do like the thought of getting an Outland Liberator just in case of, like, say a Chalice for 1 down the line, and then we draw into Swords to Plowshares. Having an answer for the Chalice is kind of nice. So I think the flexibility of Green Suns is good enough to keep. They didn't make a token in my turn, which I think was just a little bit of a misplay with their clicking. I'm sure in paper they would have made a token there, which is kind of just an unfortunate part of MTGO. I didn't want to play the Avamai there either to allow them to get green mana or stop using the tomb and paying 2 life each turn, because that can definitely add up as well. Okay. Opal's pretty sweet. I'm not sure if they play main deck swords. I assume they would over Chalice in this metagame, but you never know. Here we also have a few options. We can obviously Wasteland them. During the step's actually pretty funny because that means we don't have one in the deck anymore. So we have a few things we could do here. We could Green Suns for Liberator, take out the Mox Opal, and then also take out the Ancient Tomb to put them down to 0 mana. Which I think is pretty powerful, of course. We also have Green Suns for Ramunap Double Waste, but that's not that great, obviously, with only 1 land in play. Have a quick look again. I obviously like Wastelanding here. And then I think I kind of like just Green Suns for Liberator, but hold it up and see if they don't have something to cast. Because flipping this Liberator would be huge. Pretty much on the same sort of significance as a Marit Lage. Not winning the game in 1 turn, but still pretty sweet in terms of value. Now this is pretty interesting. I could take out the Saga here before they can tap it for mana, but I think I'm okay with just allowing it. It isn't a soul land, which is great for us. And if they just equip the sword, that's fine. They still need something like a Solitude to be able to... Oh, Chrome Mox. Okay, there we go. Just to make sure the Liberator doesn't flip. Pretty happy just to take this. We'll take them off that Wasteland. Off that Saga, sorry. Attack with Liberator. And then try to put them in a position where even the 5 damage from the Construct token isn't good enough. It's a little bit different if they do make that token there. So, pretty fortunate there. What do we like? The Vexing Baubles are definitely interesting because of Chrome Mox, Mox Opal, Solitude. So I do think the Baubles have some sort of place. The Bog is a pretty easy cut. I still like having 2 depths, the Maze, the Karakas, just in case they have some random legendary card. Excuse me. I think the library's a little bit too slow. The Force of Vigors are pretty interesting as well, but I'm not too sure if I just want the 1 on the play. Typically just the 1. I don't mind getting rid of Endurance. It is a flash threat and it also kills Archon, but obviously it comes in tapped. Doorkeeper Thrall is also quite strong here, stopping both initiative and also Chrome Mox. Ramunap I think is a little bit better than Loam, just because it's a creature that also gets value straight away typically. Safekeeper I don't mind. Reclaimers I like. Green Suns. Baubles. If they're moving towards Blood Moon, that's a little bit tough, but we only saw white. Probably don't mind just cutting down on a knight. I would assume some sort of ongoing Graveyard Hate, like potentially Unlicensed Hearse. Okay, sadly we have a hand here where the mana just isn't great, so pretty easy throwback. Maze acting as a spell. Saga, obviously better with a bit more mana in hand, so happy to mull. A slow hand, but I don't really want to go to 5 here, so let's keep this bottom of Green Suns. Just having a quick think if I want to get rid of the boots. It might actually be the boots. Yeah. Boots kind of cool against a initiative deck. They might not think of haste, but once it's on board, they kind of take that into consideration. Oh, Ancient Den. Okay. So maybe Force of Vigor is just a little bit better. Chalice is fine. I mean, can you imagine Force of Vigor here? That'd be pretty insane. Lush gets to search. Dryad Arbor we can put in the graveyard. I think seeing their Sagas as well, I should have brought in the extra Force of Vigor. Okay. Happy to go for Reclaimer. I could have gone there for Wasteland, but I don't think we're in a position where we're happy to throw away a land for Wasteland. A lot of ones here, unfortunately. They didn't have a land last turn. They have a land now, and also 4 mana, which is pretty huge. So yeah, I think if anything, it was a case of I should definitely have that extra Force of Vigor in the main deck. Sadly, here's just going to be a pass. But I do want to respond before they get to look with Saga. Hey Strass, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, one of those awkward ones where they have the turn on Chalice and we just draw into a few too many 1-drops. I think we might take one more look at the draw step and then probably concede. And just think probably more about this extra Force of Vigor. Okay. That's a start. Hey Movmo, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Lodestone Golem, wow. So they're a lot more on sort of the artifact plan than they are on the initiative plan, which is really interesting. Happy to take this hit. We will play this. And then probably just pass here. Could have also got Wasteland to take out the Saga, but pretty tough position. Question is, do they run another Needle? I think I'm more happy just to hold up the Knight here than respond. Because I don't think that we're in a position to win this game. Even a Force of Vigor off the top doesn't do a whole lot. It does allow us to take out the Chalice. Graph Cage turns off Green Suns, of course. I guess we do still have, like, just go for Dark Depths. So I'm just trying to think if they run something like the Vault Key that allows you to create an unblockable creature, and potentially this is the time to block because we might not get another chance. The Reclaim isn't doing too much either with the Needle down. Go and get a stage. Copy Sav. Tough. Hey Scarab, welcome. Hope you're well. Also Vigor. And I think Ouphe, looking at their deck, I think the Thralls can most likely come out. But like, Solitude is something to think about. Yeah. I could see the extra Knight as well. Maybe not all the Baubles. Bauble on the play is pretty nice though. Speaking of, question is, what does this hand do? Like, turn one Bauble, sure, but then like doesn't tap for mana, Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. I think his hand is just a little bit too rough. Okay, this is kind of cool. Happy to keep this. Probably just put back the Mox here, unfortunately. And then happy to go Yav into Bauble. Okay. Saga's pretty sweet here. Let's go with Savannah Hold Up Crop. Just because I feel like if they waste once, they're most likely going to waste again. If they have the chance. No. Okay. Play our own. Play this. Because getting the Liberator online would be great, and this kind of forces them to do something with the... maybe Dismember? Okay. Play this. And then I think here we're just going to get rid of the city. I could have actually played the boots here as well. That was a mistake. I just didn't really think of my mana there. I don't have anything to get either, because I have the boots. I have a bauble. There's a bauble in the board, I believe. Okay, I have another bauble. That's not the worst. It means I can cycle one with the Saga if I want to. Okay. That's pretty interesting because we get to get another one here with the bauble, which is nice. That's why. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So now we just have to deal with this construct and another construct. I don't think we have a great out here, but we can try. But I don't think we have a great out because the Saga gets another needle. We have Talon to buy some time. Maze comes in tapped. It's a little bit too big. But yeah, I think just a misread as well on thinking a little bit too much about initiative and not bringing in that extra force of vigor. I don't mind this hand. Bauble can be great. We have some Wasteland protection as well. Bauble might be too slow here. Yeah. We like these. The Force. The Deafening Silence. Probably the Paths. Safekeeper. Boots. Ramunap. I don't mind keeping the Liberator, but probably a Knight here as well. It's nice to have a sort of different setup as well when it comes to the graveyard hate. Dampening Sphere is pretty interesting, but I think the Deafening Silence by itself should be okay. Not too sure what I would cut. Okay. Happy to keep this. Start with Lush. I'll put swords on in the graveyard, play a Mox, pitch the Dryad Arbor and pass. I think we'll just put that one under the belt and move on. I guess like if Reanimator's coming back, maybe Leyline is the go-to. Stuff, because I guess Bauble does stop Unmask there, but otherwise it's not. There are a lot of hands that Reanimator can have that Bauble doesn't actually do much against. Very cool to see Dual Commander as well make its way onto Magic Online. I think the first challenge was on last night, and Blue Green took it down with Tamio, which is pretty cool to see. Okay. On the draw with no green mana, which is a pretty big rule for me, just to not keep a hand with no green mana, especially with no ability to cast these spells either. Okay. We will be dropping the Mox Diamond here just because of, we don't really want to go down on an extra card after mulliganing as well. We do have some nice lines like turn 1 Flagstones, hold up sword, turn 2 crop, ramp with Flagstones. I assume this is bug. Interesting, they don't take the... Okay. I'm happy just to go with Savannah here, holding up both crop and swords. It does give away what we drew, but I think that's okay. Hey Ramar, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Okay. Ooh, that's pretty interesting. If we are playing Saga here, then the following turn we're not really cropping or swordsing. I don't mind Flagstones and then Saga the following turn. Interesting. I still want to hold up the crop, so I don't want to play the Reclaimer here, but it does make it a little bit awkward that we didn't play the Yav with this sort of setup on turn 1. Hey Mangork, welcome. Sunday is going well, thank you. Do we care? What happens with Talon? If they take a creature of ours and it phases out, do we get it back? I don't think so. Because it doesn't leave the field, it just kind of like... Yeah. I'm pretty happy for them to have it. Okay. I do want to play around days somewhat, so I will just play the Reclaimer here. I kind of felt like the Reanimate was a bait, but they didn't have End Step and Tomb. I mean, Wasteland's fine. Now we get to kind of hide behind this Reclaimer a little bit. Safekeeper's pretty sweet here. Troll's fine. I think this I'm happy to hit with Bojuka Bog. So let's go and get another Savannah. And then get the Bog. We do have Maze, but... like... Actually, what if we just go for Stage here and draw a land off the top? I actually don't mind that either. Because I think I really want to keep the Bog in case we get to a stage where they go for Reanimate on like an actual big fatty. And if we draw a land here, we then just have a pretty massive creature. We don't, but I think that's still okay. Like, they have one card. I think I'm still happy to tap out here for the... Yeah, I think it's really tough for them. But I do like keeping the Bog in the deck for a more... Like, they're actually going to win the game with it. The Troll is at a 3-turn clock, and by then we're going to most likely have Stage Online, if not Night, if not deal damage in a pretty fair way while they're on 10, so I don't mind that. I like these. I like these. The chokes on the draw a little bit less, but I do like having access to turning off the graveyard. The baubles do hit force. That's really it. Days, I guess. Maybe it's worth having one in the deck. The library can be a little bit rough. The Liberator can hit Animate Dead if we want to respect that. I don't mind. I do want to keep all my mana just because it is a Days Wasteland matchup. Maybe both chokes aren't the greatest. Loam's always interesting because if you accidentally Loam a big creature you can't deal with, they can reanimate it, but honestly, in the scheme of things, I think our creatures are pretty fair compared to what they can do. I could see a crop coming out, especially as crop for Bog is kind of the big thing other than cropping for the actual combo, and having more graveyard hate in the deck just makes it a little bit easier. I also don't mind taking out the Safekeeper just because we aren't going for the combo like that often. And then it could be the Boots, although Boots can make the damage race pretty interesting. I don't mind just dropping a Knight and keeping it like this. But I want to have like 3 lands and like some sort of interaction with the graveyard. I think this hand is just a little bit too clunky for that. Okay. Keep bottom the Boots. It doesn't have graveyard hate per se, but could potentially. Play the Saga. Play the Mox. Pitch the Dryad. Play the Reclaimer. Okay. Well, no end step and Tomb is really nice. Okay. I think we can beat this. I mean, now we definitely can. I could Swords Wasteland Blue, or we could just hold up Saga. A few options here. Kind of like playing the Forest as well. If they have a Wasteland themselves, they most likely then just go after the Saga. But if we play a Wasteland and tap out to make a construct and then go after the Wasteland, we also lose the Saga unless we use it for the Reclaimer. I also don't mind just keeping their board as low as possible, but it's interesting. If we Wasteland and Swords, we're kind of 1 mana left. I don't mind Forest Pass. I haven't really seen any of the Dust Maw spoilers, but I'm sure there's 1 or 2 cards that would be legacy playable. Okay. Now this is kind of interesting. I think we're pretty happy to go for... It's probably Vexing Bauble. That means they can't force and save the frog. Taking out the blue source also turns off something like Flusterstorm. Okay, they're going to discard here. Which is fine, because we have the swords. Oh, Brainstorm locked. That's pretty good for us. We also have Talons open here. So let's... I think I'm happy to Green Suns for another Reclaimer. Attack with the Construct, hold up Talons. The other thought was Wasteland. But I think we're pretty happy here. Go and get Savannah. And go and get Lush. Sorry, Talons. Talons, this big boy. Alright, there's the shuffle of the Brainstorm. Chose to not. Wow. Going down to 7. Did we take out Ramunap? Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is pretty sweet. This is pretty cool. I think this works. Green Suns for Ramunap, Wasteland our Talons, replay the Talons, take out the Troll, attack for lethal. One, two, three, 4. Green Suns for 3. Ramunap, sacrifice, Talons. Talons. Oh, that's sick. That is very cool. Yes. That's where we want to be. That is very sweet. Nice. That's a very cool line. We do have the copy land as well in Echoing Deeps, but we would have to tap a Reclaimer to go and find it. Nice. Good to be on the board as well. Vexing Bauble, they're really nice as well, just to make sure they can't daze or force that. That always feels really nice. I think if anything, potentially this league has just shown me a little bit more free spell would be good. So like maybe an extra Force of Vigor, if there are going to be a lot of sort of artifact based combo or quick decks. And then the Graveyard Hate being free as well is pretty huge. Look, it does have the combo. So a turn 4 win, but otherwise it doesn't have a whole lot going on that I think is just a little bit too open for a green-white base deck. Okay, pretty happy to keep this. It's probably the boots again, but the boots are interesting. Could also be the Safekeeper. Safekeeper not typically good early on. You really want it in the mid to late game. I don't mind this, turn 1 Reclaimer. Okay. Let's go start with Yav, and then play Mox. Pitch the Plains. Play Bauble. It's really sad. I kind of just feel it like End Step and Tomb coming, but we can't do too much about that anyway. Oh, it's blue. Oh, I don't mind an End Step Brainstorm. Okay. Blue-black is everywhere. I don't think Grief really hit its power too much. Okay. Lauren revealed is more than happy, more than fine. It was... I was much more scared of Entomb upkeep to shuffle. Oh, Tropical Island. Okay. Spellbomb's gonna be fine. Reclaimer. Equip. Alright. I kind of hope their next play is going to be a Uro, if this is like sort of a mid-range bug build. Obviously then the sorcery speed Bojuka Bog is quite strong and allows us to hold up the Reclaimer as well. Okay. A lot of brainstorming. It's brainstorm number 3 already. I think just because of Murktide. Maybe not. Do we even care about Murktide? Probably not. Pretty happy to put this in the graveyard, honestly. Not too engaged with that right now. Hey Eureka, a huge thank you for the follow, hope you're doing well. And now it's going to pass with the Reclaimer open. Because for all they know, we still have the Bog in the deck. But thanks to the Yavimaya, we also have mana through Dark Depths, which means next turn we actually have a hasty 2020. Which is pretty huge. Sanctuary. Okay. That's fine. Murktide's fine. The question for me now is, like, Sheoldred's Edict is a card that I'm kind of thinking about. That I probably wouldn't mind playing around that to some extent by just getting a Saga here. Fatal Push. Okay. That's still fine. Talons. We can hold that for at least a turn. I don't want to bog anyone. I guess we bog ourselves. I don't want to grow the Murktide, but I do want to play the bog. But yeah, maybe that's a case of like just make them have it, make the Dark Depths, and then don't play around Sheoldred's Edict. Just hope they don't have a, okay, Beanstalk's fine. I was going to say Pernicious Deed there is what I'm happy not to see. I think we're going to use Stage's ability to copy the Saga. And then make a token, of course. Just get full value out of the Saga. Don't attack. Okay. Interesting. Ah, of course we're 1 mana short of being able to copy. Hmm. This could be a dress down. Edge Maze, okay. Ah, because of Needle they wanted to fetch. So close to just killing them. We can Talons this turn. Put them down to 2. I think it's worth it. Oh, they're going to force but the Bauble. So they're going to try to draw a card. Interesting. That puts them down to 14. Is this Fatal Push? Wow. Still getting in. Guess I should have attacked first because the Green Suns doesn't really change anything. That's just a misplay by me. What did they pitch to the Force? Must have been a Force. I want to see them draw a card with this because that means that they're really looking to find something they don't currently have in hand. Hey Panda, too kind, thank you very much. 41 months is pretty crazy. Hope you're doing well. Hope the coast is nice. I know that Chris has been getting Modern firing up there, which is really cool to see. So hopefully, I'm not too sure what other formats currently fire up there. If there's any Highlander, that'd be kind of cool. Highlander, there's a Winter Duel next Sunday, which is cool in Brisbane. Wow. I don't think they now have an out to Dark Depths other than blocking with the Murktide. Unless they find another push. Or Murderous Cut. Okay. Oh. I think I'm happy during one card here. Nice. Getting Reclaimer and then equipping Boots. I think Bauble only hits Force in this matchup, so that's a card that I can probably drop post-board. Hmm. I think we're just passing here, unfortunately. The crop rotation open. Yeah, I think the big play going back is the Green Suns before attacks, which was kind of just a bit of a tunnel vision to, oh, let's cast Green Suns first. It doesn't really matter, but it actually does matter. Can't really change that. Echoing Deeps. Talons. This. Talon Gate is pretty sweet. I really want to get Maze of Ith, but I want to get it after they use the Wasteland. And I kind of want them to Wasteland now because we've tapped the Reclaimer. Yeah, it's not worth attacking. Just them. We are up 7 minutes, which hopefully comes up. Okay. We've used the Bog, we've used the Talons. We can't do anything about that. I guess we get staged because at least if the Wasteland goes at Maze, we can then draw into Dark Depths off the top or Crop Rotation potentially. Dryad Arbor sadly doesn't do enough, I don't think. I'll also use all my mana here. Oh, they are a Daze deck? Yikes. Did not expect that. This is game 1. That Daze was pretty huge. The Clock is our best card, correct? Okay. I like the chokes. I like the paths. Probably don't mind a Force of Vigor as just a nice way to take out the up the beanstalks. Probably don't mind the extra endurance either. Karakas can most likely come out. I don't mind going down on a crop. Liberator's still pretty solid. Safekeeper and Boots are still good. I could see like a Mox. It's pretty solid otherwise. Might be Library. I do like having that kind of like turn 1 potential of Loam or Library. Could be the Boots. Could just be a land as well. 27 with 2 Moxen, I don't mind that. Cool, pretty happy to keep this. Turn 2 Sylvan Library, turn 3 Choke potentially. Go for Lush. Graveyard. I don't want to Wasteland and Reclaim here. I think I'm happy to push the Library narrative. Pretty happy to pay for all of that. I think the mana for us is just a little bit more relevant because these two currently don't tap for mana, and I do want to play the choke around a daze, hopefully. Well, that does change things. Tough. Now we have to try to find a Mox or a basic. I didn't even think of this card. Especially looking at their mana base, but maybe I should have respected it. Yeah. Tough. Sadly, the land doesn't come in that way. It won't trigger, which is pretty brutal. But yeah, maybe Harbinger is a good reason to keep in the Mox. Just didn't really think of it out of the 3-color deck. Tough. Definitely a tough welcome back to Legacy. That's for sure. On the draw. With a pretty tough hand. Pretty happy to mulligan this. Okay. Pretty happy to keep this and bottom the Maze, just because we have the swords as an answer. Chalice for 1 here is pretty brutal if that's what is going to happen here. Pyroglyph. Yeah. Okay. On the play, I definitely feel better about Moon decks because of the baubles, and also just being able to set up our mana with fetch lands a little bit better. But this can be pretty brutal. Well, I guess we're digging here. Come on, Green Suns. There we go. Green Suns for Outland Liberator. If we can turn off this Chalice for 1, I'd be very happy. Oh, it's gonna flip? Wow. Well, now I'm stoked. So what's our play here? Attack, take out the Chalice for 1. Play the Reclaimer. Probably don't want to go down to 8 here. So I think we just take the Wasteland as it's a land drop. Could play the Bauble as well, but it does flip the Trap Breaker. But they didn't have a play last turn, so yeah, I think I'm pretty happy just passing here. Keeping the Trap Breaker flipped. Interesting. Okay. I mean, we also get shenanigans here with the Blood Moon in play. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Moon Stompy players, what are you doing? Okay. I think because... Ah, they did the flip. There we go. That makes a lot of sense now. That makes a lot more sense. There are a lot of ways to skin this pig. Okay, so now it's a little bit interesting. We can't really... I guess we could use the crop rotation. We have more than enough time here, so let's... So obviously we want to take the initiative this turn, so we do want to attack with the Outland Liberator, which means we do want to deal with the caves with the swords, which means we do want to get a white source into play or get rid of the Blood Moon, which means if the Liberator, using 1 mana, trades with the Blood Moon, we then have swords online to take out the cave, and then we still have crop rotation beforehand to go and get Dark Depths to get a free 20/20. Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. We just need to sequence it. I'm just wondering if I want to shuffle first, and I probably do. So let's crop away the Wasteland, get a Depths, and then using the red, we will take out the Blood Moon here because we can still attack with the Reclaimer. And what happens here is that the Dark Depths will trigger, and the shuffle gives us 3 cards to look at, including Lavaspur Boots, potentially, to get there. We don't hit, but that's fine. There's the Plains, so that's even better. So we can go put on top. We don't even need the Plains because we can go and find it with the Undercity. Put on top. Honestly, we could also just Talons here. Talons away the caves. We have great blockers. It allows us to play the Knight as well. But I think I'm more happy just to get rid of it. Attack. And now we get to go and get that Plains. Yeah. And then probably play the Vexing Bauble, but the card I really care about is Fury, which they can just hardcast anyway, so I think we had a lot of routes there to victory. And thankfully our opponent just had a turn, like a hand where it's just turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Blood Moon, which is fantastic, but they didn't have the actual pressure, especially under a Sylvan Library. Like a Rabble Master there, any sort of pressure would have been pretty insane, so very happy to get out of that one. Love the Force of Vigors, Chalice and Blood Moon. Love the Path to Exile's extra removal from the Mox Diamonds and the basics, of course. We can cut down on a few things like Karakas. Library a little bit too slow. Endurance a little bit too slow. The Baubles I still don't mind. The Safekeeper I don't mind dropping as well. That's only a few things, like potentially the Collector Ouphe turning off Chrome Mox and maybe Mox Opal if they play it. No Morlock because I didn't want to play any red. As soon as I play Morlock, I do want to play a Taiga, and with a Taiga, I want to play Blasts. So I stuck with just having the straight green-white. If you want to find a really good green-white list, look at Dreadnought 33's recent 5-0 from yesterday. The Bog can also be cut, and 27 lands with 3 Mox Diamonds I'm more than happy with. Thralls are interesting as well, probably more so on other. Fairy Macabre has a few upgrades. Fairy Macabre gets around Vexing Bauble, which is nice, which Surgical doesn't all the time. Fairy Macabre, if you're playing Once Upon a Time, that's another great reason to play it. I just like it because I don't have to worry about counter magic. That's always really nice. I think I'm just happy with this. really want to have a basic and a Force of Vigor in hand, which is a lot to ask for when it comes to the chances of that, but a Mox Diamond wouldn't be too bad either. A Mox Diamond or a basic. We have neither of those. We don't have any sort of interaction with Chalice, Blood Moon, any sort of early creature either, so I'm pretty happy to mulligan this. We do have a way to get to a basic, but it's pretty slow, so it's pretty easy. This is a one-lander that... On the off chance my opponent plays a Chalice for 0 after they've played out their hand, I'm pretty happy to mulligan that as well. I think this really comes down to card quality, not card quantity. Alright, we'll keep. It does have access to a basic, it does have some interaction. I think it's going to be the stage that we drop. Maze keeping some pressure off the board is nice. A lot of the times as well, it'll be land pass from our opponent. Here it isn't, which is fine, but... Okay. At least we get down the Windswept Heath. And then we actually have a decent play of Green Suns for Elvish Reclaimer. But this is not the start that you want to see from them. Like on their side, like you really want to have disruption into pressure. Like giving me a full turn to be able to actually untap here, potentially draw a basic and know we want to go for the other one is pretty sweet. So we will go for basic plain, basic forest. Because that unlocks both Green Suns and Liberator. I don't want to play Liberator here because I want to have mana open for it in case they remove it. So here we just want to go for Yav into Reclaimer. Fable's going to be okay. I think with my current hand, I don't gain enough just by trading the Liberator with the Fable that I need to try to get in a position where I can flip the Liberator. It's tough as well because the Goblin Shaman obviously creates treasures on attack, so Maze of Ith doesn't stop it from getting the triggers. Insidious Fungus. I'm not too sure what it does. I do like that Liberator flips into a way for us to get like a 2-for-1 advantage, which there's a lot out there that doesn't allow that. Like the Qasali Pride effect plus something else is really nice. I think if they Fury us, we have to get rid of the Fable, because being able to copy the Fury is just a little bit too much. And the Chalice is holding us back, but not doing a whole lot. Okay. I'll get that basic. That's kind of nice. Always interesting to see these sort of cards where it kind of goes against what you're doing. So giving me the basic is pretty sweet. And there's the Fury, which is pitched as well. Interesting. They play around. Interesting they deal 4 because like Chalice, I guess crop rotation does make this bigger, so I kind of understand. Oh, what I can do here is, I think all I want to do is attack, and then at the end of damage, untap this, because it's going to flip into a 3/3, which means it blocks this really well. Caves is going to be fine here. Because we have the swords. We don't want to do anything here. We want to be able to attack first. Take out the reflection. Actually, maybe take out the Chalice in case they try to double block. We can swords 1. I think it is the Chalice here. Yeah. They just take it. Interesting. We don't have another basic to grab, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. So I think here we are going to trade the Trapbreaker with the reflections. Unless we hold up the sword and then just swords in response, but that can sometimes go a little bit out of our way, especially if they draw into like a Chalice and play Chalice for 1 first. So the question is, do I want to Maze the Liberator? I don't think I do, because Maze is actually both stop one of their creatures from getting through and also blow up. They have 2 cards. 1, 2, Green Sun's Reclaimer. 1, 2. We'll let this happen. Like, I guess the Maze does answer the Shaman. So we might as well pop and hit. It's so hard, sorry. Do I want to use the Maze on this? The upside is if they have like a Blood Moon effect, that obviously stops the Maze. But we're definitely getting rid of the caves here. Okay. We also have play Ramunap, get a land back, because we haven't played a land this turn, I believe. Or did we just play Maze of Ith? No, turn 5. Turn 5. Yeah. So I think it might be play Ramunap. Yeah, so let's go 1, 2, 3. Play Ramunap. Get back. Well, I could get back Depths as well. That's pretty interesting. It taps for mana under the Yav, which is great. And then I do want to get rid of this right now. And then I do just want to swords this right now so they can't get the attack trigger. Unless I do that at the beginning of combat. Yeah. Okay. Swords this, beginning of combat. No attacks from them is pretty huge. And there's Magus, that is more than fine. Lost Well is pretty interesting here. I think I might actually Lost Well. I think there's not too much difference between Ramunap as a 2/3 and bigger, so I'm going to try to find removal that'll trigger the Dark Depths. Put that in the bottom. Put that in the bottom. A Knight is pretty cool. So let's... I probably don't want to play the Windswept Heath because it makes the Knight a smaller threat. So let's just play the Knight, play the Bauble, and most likely sack the Bauble in their turn just to draw a card. This also turns off Fury, which is pretty huge in this position because it would just allow them to get through with something. Oh, okay. Well, we finish 2-3, which for a return isn't too bad. But definitely some small things there, like not playing around Daze against the Bug deck was pretty huge, like game breaking. Not thinking about Harbinger of the Tides out of the board, another one. Against the Artifact deck, thinking it's initiative and not bringing in the extra Force of Vigor when it is just an artifact-based deck. Maybe not respecting Reanimator as much. That was a big one, like losing, turn 1, turn 1 is just, that's just how things are if you don't respect the deck. The Loam we didn't see. I don't think we drew the Loam once, but I like having it in the deck. I typically think that Ramunap is enough, and it's also a card you're going to see a lot more of thanks to it being a Green Sun's target. But a lot of the winning lists have been running a Loam, if not 2 Loams, and no Ramunap. I typically like Ramunap because you can tutor for it. And it's also a creature, which comes up. But there's also downsides, like Ramunap getting reanimated against us. That happened. We did get rid of it, but, Ramunap with Wasteland can be pretty effective out of, like, the blue-black shells. I like the Baubles, but without Grief in the format, sometimes they're not enough. Having them like in play against Delver on turn 1 is insane because you don't have to worry about, Daze or Force. But I also like them because they do draw a card if they're not relevant, and they do make the sagas bigger, which is cool. But I think if I cut this down to like the bare minimum, You could drop the Loam, you could drop the Library, you could drop one Bauble and just have it as a tutor target. And then you're kind of playing around with like 3 or 4 cards that you could add into the main deck. Like if you wanted extra removal, you could play a Taiga, go to 30 lands, and then play a Morlock in the main deck, which I wouldn't mind having, especially if you do have the basic forest. I probably wouldn't mind like an extra basic. Sometimes I really like having the 3, especially against Delver. I like having 3 mana, and then every kind of extra land is just a Lotus Petal effect against Daze, pretty much. That could be pretty nice just when you're building out your mana. The Thralls didn't come. They did come in, but 1, you have to find them. 2, you have to find them pretty early against the decks you want them against. And 3, they do take up a slot of something that could be like a 1 mana play, or potentially like fill out more, you know, turn on graveyard hate or free artifact or enchantment hate. So it does come at a cost. And there's some decks where, like against say Dreadnought, it's just a dead card. You're not going to bring it in, where you might want that extra removal. We do run the 2 paths, so yeah, Doorkeeper is definitely a card that I'm still on the fence about, but we'll see how that goes. A huge thank you to all of you for coming in and watching. I very much appreciated it. Obviously not the greatest start to coming back, but that is magic, and I think we had some really good learnings from the losses as well, which I really like. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to see who else is streaming. A big shout out as well for the weekend of October 12th, where I'll be having a few people, another Green Sun Summit. So we'll be having 7 streams over the weekend, which is pretty cool. These are the co-streamers, so Michael Mapson, Newton Hang, Mark Strassman, Tony Marauder, also known as Interplay, Jonathan Yannick, Connolly Knox, and Harry Hackett. So a lot of Maverick, which is nice, a little bit of Elves, a little bit of Depths, a little bit of Cloudpost. Should hopefully be a pretty cool weekend. Celestial Purge I do like. I think it's a pretty nice card. It would have been pretty great today. Obviously hitting Troll, hitting Atraxa, hitting Archon, hitting Frog, hitting Blood Moon effects. Yeah, I think Celestial Purge is pretty nice. And could definitely be a card you think about when it comes to removal in white. But yeah, I think I should give it a little bit more respect. Caleb D, MTG, I'm going to send you all over there. A huge thank you once again. A big thank you to the new followers, the new subscribers. I'll be back sometime during the week. But until then, have a great Sunday and catch you next time.